Hey, you guys. So it's always such an exciting thing when we hear from you all and you all say that the topics that we share on and the information that we're sharing on, stuff that we've grown through ourselves, that we're sharing on this platform of war, winning against resistance. It's amazing when we hear you all talk about how it's helping you grow. And today, what we're going to talk about is a topic that came from a similar conversation. Someone I was talking with, they talked about how they were enjoying things from this channel, and they asked the question, how do you honor yourself in relationships? And I thought,
Great
man,
question.
that is an amazing question because I've been in relationships where I was a chameleon, right? I just kind of transformed to the person I was in a relationship with. And I didn't really know myself. So I had to take some time and step away and say, what about me? What are the things that I like to do? And, just this whole topic of honoring yourself is a good one. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it's a balance of, because you adapt in a relationship and you don't want to be selfish,
Right.
and always think of yourself, and you want to be able to serve the other, and so you're gonna change to some degree when you're in a serious relationship, especially a marital relationship where you're growing. But then I think one thing you got to take in consideration: is this someone that I'm becoming one with? Am I, from a marriage, or is this someone that I'm just dating? Because there's a big difference between the two.
Huge difference.
Yeah,
Difference.
absolutely.
And the first thing that I thought of when this question was posed was boundaries.
Yeah.
And that is an amazing book. You've probably heard us, if you've been following us for any length of time, you've heard us talk about this book, Boundaries. It was significant
Mind-blowing.
for our marriage, right?
Yeah, for our marriage and for us individually, I think it really just created a level of freedom.
Yeah, and the book is so rich. It's not one book you can sit down and read and get through it and just learn and just apply some things. You have to break it down. But one thing about boundaries is creating and when people hear the word boundaries, you think about boundaries for other people, right? People need to respect my boundaries, but it's not always just that. You need to create boundaries for yourself. What are the boundaries that you've put on yourself? So I think that's a huge thing. I also think that when it comes to boundaries, yes, there are those boundaries for other people, the people that are around you, but communicating those boundaries, because it's hard for me to decide. I read this book and I decide I'm going to have me some boundaries, right? But I'm in this marital relationship, and I don't tell this man that I'm practicing my boundaries. That's why communication is important.
It's the key.
Right. So I don't tell him, hey, I'm growing in the area of boundaries, and I just start applying these things, right? And he has no idea where this is coming from. He can't even mentally prepare himself for these newfound boundaries that I have for myself and for him and for our relationship. But boundaries are a huge thing.
I think one of the most significant things I learned from the book is the word no, and the power of the word no. And this is something
Complete sentence.
Yeah, this is something to practice, especially when you're in the dating phase, because if that individual can't respect your no, then that'll be a big indicator.
Yes.
They need to be able to receive the no, and you need to be able to receive their no. Because if you can't receive their no, then that means that you have a problem with respecting their boundaries. And if you can develop this healthy relationship with boundaries while you're dating, it's going to make a world of difference when it comes down to being in a marital relationship or growing a long-term relationship. Just stability. Sometimes you don't feel like doing it. Now, here's the balance between serving that individual and serving your spouse, but also serving yourself. Because if you're always compromising, you're always saying yes, 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 even when your heart is not there, even when you don't want to do it, even when you don't feel like doing it. Now, sure, sometimes in marriages, it takes that. But if the compromise is always one way and you're afraid to say no because you're afraid of what it's going to do to the relationship, you're afraid that that person is going to be mad, you're afraid that that person is going to hold it over your head, that's not healthy boundaries. And you're the one that's suffering.
Right.
So very, very, very powerful book.
Do you remember when I had to practice saying no?
I remember when she had to practice saying no, and I encouraged her to say no. Because Angela, she read the book Boundaries probably 2 years before I read the book Boundaries. And I finally read it. I'm like, my God, this book is it was mind-blowing. It was freeing. It gave me a level of understanding in relationships that I hadn't had before. And I immediately began to apply. And I really believe that my applications of boundaries encouraged her to apply it even more, because I started like, hey, babe, no. So, and it was some of it doing just, I was doing some of it just to free myself and having the ability to say no. But I didn't want her to be enslaved and thinking that, hey, she got to always say yes to me. I want her to feel free to say no and be empowered to say no, because she's still her individual. She still has to make her own decisions. But yet, when we both have that individuality, when we come together and serve one another, it's coming from a level of purity. It's coming from a heart where we really, really want to do it. And for me, it's made our marriage world difference.
Yeah, and I'm just, since we're on boundaries, it's just so powerful. I want to touch on this one little thing on boundaries. So something so simple as, this is why boundaries is important. Something so simple as, let's say, chips. So I'm eating some chips, and I got this one bag of chips, and Chris says, "Can I have some of your chips?" And I say, "Yeah, you can have some, but really I don't want to give him these chips. But I'm trying to be nice and I want to share with my husband." So I give him these chips, right? He eats the chips, right? Let's say the next day he has a bag of chips and I don't have any. And I say, "Chris, can I have some of your chips?" And he's like, "No, no." Now I'm mad because he practiced his boundary. Now I'm mad at him for having boundaries because I didn't have my own boundaries. That's why boundaries is so important. It's so important for you to structure yours, to have your boundaries, and to respect other people's boundaries. So now I can't be mad at Chris because he used the power of his own boundaries. So again, that book is so powerful, and I definitely think that if you haven't picked it up, it's time.
And Angela, that's a great example. And I want to use that example to segue into another perspective when it comes down to valuing yourself. Because let's say if it's chips, if it's something that you love as a favorite food, and you feel like you have to give to this other person, I want to speak from the standpoint of, don't lose yourself. Don't lose the things that you love to do, that you love to have for your own,
so big.
the things that you value for yourself, that made you feel like you, that made you value yourself. It could be working out. It could be exercising, but now you spending so much time with this individual, and you're months go by, you're off of your routine, you're not, health is a value for you, you're not progressing towards that goal, because you're making a decision to invest more time, or this person may be asking for more time and attention in the area where it's causing you to deviate from your pathway. So that's okay, really, in a sense. Again, no black and white with this. It's all a matter of gray. You got to really evaluate it for yourself. But don't lose yourself. Like, who are you from an individual standpoint right now? And if you've been in a relationship for long enough and you feel like you've lost yourself, go back and ask, what have you lost? What are those things that you feel like you need to regain? I'll let my wife share, and then I'll share one thing that recently I found that I've been feeling like me again. Something that I've been engaging in has been making me feel like me.
Yeah. And I think that's a great topic, finding that thing that grounds you. What is that thing that reconnects you to you? Maybe it's reading, maybe it's prayer, maybe it's your spiritual life. Yeah. A lot of times people will be on a prayer journey, on a relationship with Christ, and then they get in a relationship with someone else, and now that relationship becomes a priority. That's not how things should be, but that's a whole nother topic. But what is that thing that grounds you? What is that things that you were doing this whole time, and you find peace in it, you find joy? Your significant other, your spouse may not enjoy doing that thing, but guess what? You like it, so you continue to do that. So what is that thing you found?
Really, it was working out again. For years, I've been putting it off, and some of the factors have been family, time, but a lot of the factors have been other things. But this year, I've been back into the environment. I've been back into the mode. I became a part of a gym. I'm focused, I'm dedicated, I'm eating properly, my body's starting to shape up like I want to. But more importantly, my mind, my emotions are at a high place. I'm feeling like the 20-year-old, look at this, I'm feeling like the 21-year-old Chris. I'm feeling good in my body. I'm feeling motivated because I'm on a goal and journey. And guess what that does for the marriage relationship? When I'm not struggling with my self-image, because I've deviated so far away from who I used to be. You know what I mean? That this is important. And here's another thing. When I was at that place, it created stress. And stress could aid you faster than eating the wrong food, not working out, having constant cortisol in your level. It could be detrimental to your tissues, create wrinkles, make you age, make you look old when you're not old. You know what I mean? So, de-stress.
Yeah.
Find your individuality, doing the things you love to do, finding moments of quiet time. If you have children and you're married, doesn't matter. You have to find moments of quiet time where you can stop, you can rest, you can think, you can be by yourself, you can hear from God. Just have that peace of mind. And you have to learn how to bring the stress level down.
I like to think that my consistency in the gym had something to do with you getting back in there.
Sure. Sure.
Anyway.
But I mean, she did inspire me in a lot of different ways when it comes down to that. But at the end of the day, I still had to take the action, right? I was reading a book, James Allen, As a Man Thinketh, and it talks about how a strong man can begin to encourage a weak man, but the weak man still has to do the work to become a strong man. He still has to be willing to put in the effort. You got to be willing to be helped. But just because you get around the right people and you see the right example, that doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily pick up on the fruit that they're walking in.
That's
you
true.
got to become strong yourself. So I had to make the decision to go after it and do that thing. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Another thing that I think is your friendships. You honor yourself by staying true to the friendships and the relationships that you had prior to this dating relationship or the and again there are times where some relationships you have to let go, and I get that, but there are some friends and there are some people that you're connected to. You just have to have relationships outside of the person that you're with. Like you have to have that safe space to be able to share, to be able to connect. Women, I mean, we were all born to need other people. We were created to depend on others. No man is an island unto himself. So it's very important. But one thing about those relationships, you have to make sure that they share the same values that you share. They're going in the direction that you're going in. And if you can look at the fruit on the tree. If their life is not what you want to model your life after, those are not the people you need to be around. Right. Point. So I think that those relationships and there are times where we've been at each other, and thank God that we've had people that we can call, that can just help, that we can talk to, we can go to dinner with, we can do these things with, that they take us to the next level in our relationships. So I think your relationships is important.
Yeah. So we definitely encourage you to seek those relationships in your life. Be vigilant about who the people that have been, that God surrounded you with. Married folks, you want to hang out with married folks. At the end of the day, if you're a married man and all your friends are single, that's a problem.
Red flag.
If you're a married man and you're hanging out with a bunch of single men who's staying out late at night, you're setting yourself up for failure. So, you want to have relationships that you can pour into, but also relationships of people that can pour into you. Just having godly wisdom all around you. My wife and I, we're fortunate enough to have it tiered. Where we have relationships with couples that have been married about the same time as us, where we kind of share mutually back and forth some wisdom. And then we have a relationship with people that have been married 10 years, 15 years more than us, that can pour into us. And I think that's what it's supposed to look like. So my wife is totally on. She's on point with that. Keep and maintain the relationships of the people that can really pour into you.
Yep, and I have one last thought when it comes to honoring yourself when you're in a relationship is cultivate becoming. Who is the person that you are becoming? If you're always growing, always looking to better yourself, become the best version of yourself, I think that's another thing that keeps you grounded in a different relationship and in relationships and one thing I love about our relationship is that we're both always growing. We're growing together. We're always looking for ways to improve in different areas. And that's something that is important. Not just wanting to have someone that you're with be the person, but you look to become and be the person that you want to spend life with, you want to be in a relationship with. So always be growing, always be cultivating yourself.
I love who you're becoming.
Oh, it's so sweet.
Hey guys, it's been exciting to share with you tonight. Again, this was a recommended topic, and
we love recommended topics.
We love recommended topics. So please send up a topic. We love to talk about family. We love to talk about relationships. We love to talk about sometimes the things that God just pours into our heart. So send a recommended topic, and we may be able to share on that topic. But we want you to do this. We want you to go to Winning Against Resistance on YouTube and plug in. We want you to go check out the website. We want you to buy some merch if it lines up with your value. We got some new things that are coming. We just want you to be a part of the community because so much is coming in the future.
That's right.
We're building this thing out in phases. So guys, click, subscribe, Winning Against Resistance.
Comment. Drop those comments. What was something that was shared tonight that was big for you?
Absolutely.
Share this message with somebody else that needs to be honoring themselves. We're excited. We're growing. You're growing. Let's win.
Peace.
Bye.